it allows me to sharpen my thinking. And so being able to have a conversation with another really smart person or to prepare for a solo episode, because about half my episodes are solo, like I have to really do a lot of work and sharpen my thinking and prepare for them. So I find that that's a tremendous benefit.
I mean, maybe you should just wing it.
That's what I was about to say. I'm like, I love that you're sharpening yourself, big guy. I can't do. I did solo. I did a couple early on. Did a couple like Alan couldn't make it. I'm like, we'll just keep doing it. And I have to say, I went back and listened to that. It was one of the worst episodes I've ever done. I wasn't prepared. I did everything that kibitz off of. I couldn't wing it, and I love winging it. That's for sure. But
so yeah, I'm his little safety blanket because I'm here waiting for him. He's got this elevated driveway, and I'm here, and he comes in and hits that driveway so hard it looks like a carrier launch. And then he jumps out of the truck, and he's got all of his equipment, and then we patch it together 5 minutes before the show. I'm like, "Did you do any homework?" And he's like, "Well,
I did today though."
Once in a while, I will get a guest where I'm like, "You probably need to read a little bit on this guy."
He did hit me on a couple of those, and I'm glad he did.
Well, I now have this, just so you know, like in full transparency, I now have this mental image, a little thought bubble above his head on my screen. He's your binky. And like, I'm not sure that...
Alan's my binky. Gold nugget. Put that in the thing. Alan is good.
Welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent to that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse through the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from hitting your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop.
Only if you get caught.
Only if you get caught, Alan, is it stalking. That's what I'm talking about. That's why we're on this podcast. We're trying to get in a different genre. You know, guys, small business is fun for us. It's exhilarating for us. It's painful for us. It's got everything that all the true crime podcasts and sex podcast genres out there have. Exhilaration, pain.
100%.
100%. And that's what we do here. We try to bring it out so we can share our pain and misery, or we can help you avoid some of the pain and misery that we all have. Even after 18 years, guys, it still finds a way to sneak up and smack me right across the cheeks.
Well, you do a fair amount of your own smacking too, so you're delivering as much pain as you're getting.
You know what? I give and I get.
Around goes around.
I do. That's right. You know that's karma. You know what? I did have years ago. It reminds me of one person said, "I hope you get what's coming to you," and I said, "You know what? I hope so too, because we did a good job on this, and you were being unreasonable." And I walked away.
And you couldn't do that in the corporate world.
You could not do that in the corporate world. You had to sit there and go, So we know it, guys. We talk about it, but we're still doing it because it's a life worth living. And I'm going to give you a good story. One of my sales guys went out, did an estimate on a Friday afternoon, and it was for an older guy who'd retired. And he says, "Kirk, have a seat. You want a lemonade?" And he said, "Okay. Normally we don't do that, but there's no way." And he said, "I think you have
that's the sandwich close though."
We got it.
Yeah.
Done. He closed it before he left the driveway.
Huh?
But he said, "Kirk, I think what you guys do is some of the best work in the world. You get to come out, beautiful day like this, enjoy things, help people solve problems in their home that they can't solve on their own. And we get to sit there and go, thank you for helping us do work." And I was like, he sent us this text about everything the guy said. And I was like, was that a real story or did you make that up? I said, what was in that lemonade?
Yeah, right.
And
sounds like
he said, no, man. He's like, you know what? You got to appreciate it. So all the sales team got to hear that story. And it really resonates. Man, that's really powerful because you're right. Sometimes we sit there and go, what in the hell are we doing? And you've got to love what you're doing because the passion drives you through the low times and it helps you understand what great times feel like. So kudos. Yeah. Loved it.
You have to, to reframe, say we get to do this. Even on the rainy, stormy, hot, humid days, we still get to do this because there's a lot of people who would give everything to be able to do the bad days.
And who is that? That's our guest today, everybody. We got Dusty Holcomb on. Not only is he a business owner, but he is a podcast host. but his background says so much more about him. He is definitely about making sure that we're all safe as we drive around. I loved that thing. I have been a AAA member, Alan, since I was 16 years old. My dad said, you got to have to AAA. And I saw Dusty's resume and I went, wow, dude, he was at AAA.
I'm surprised AAA still keeps you. You think they'd ask you to leave politely.
So
you're kind of skewing the metrics.
So when
two arrows are like, who's this Lalomia guy?
Well, why is he getting so many tows from 20 vehicles? How many personal vehicles does this guy have? What? Huh? What? Oh no, we need a new battery.
I'm not saying we track those statistics, but you may have been flagged. That's how I knew your name, I think.
There we go.
Yeah, your name rings a bell.
Yeah, not in a good way. No, it's a flag. It's right. It comes right across. But Dusty's got a great story to tell, and another person who was in the corporate world and said, "Man, I got to go out there and do this thing." So, Dusty, welcome to the show, and let's start with this. Why did you start your own business?
Well, thanks so much for having me, and I love that question. And I'll start with this. I think it was a seed that was planted in me when I was about 8 years old, and I wrote a newspaper. My mom and we had a Mac SE because I'm a little bit older, and a Mac SE. She said, "Yeah, I see you two looking at each other. We're all in the same age bracket."
Well, we're a little older than that.
Yeah.
I don't think Macs were out when I was a kid.
Okay, well,
we grew up with a chalkboard.
Well, but chalkboards and newsletters and newspapers don't sell well. Anyway, so my mom, I said, I want to write a newspaper because I want to make money. I'm sure there was some candy bar I wanted. So she helped me write a newsletter, and I went to the little town post office and I sold them, and I made for a quarter each, which, back in the early 80s was probably like $5 now. And I made like $1.50. And all I could remember thinking was, that was a lot of work to make $1.50. And this is where I first learned the challenges, about marketing and economics. We lived in a town of population of 250. So, I didn't really understand what I was getting into. And I think I did 2 editions. I wish I still had them. But I think that was my entrepreneurial seed. And it just took me, another 30 something years, 40 years before I got around to going, I'm actually not going to work for the man anymore. I'm not going to, have another boss or make rich people richer. I'm actually going to pursue a passion and a dream and do it on my own and learn and grow. So that was the reason. I've always been the guy that would support the startup or support the entrepreneur or find a way to go and patronize the small business. And when I had the opportunity after my leaving my last organization, I went, I can either go back to that, or I can take the leap and maybe fulfill the thing that I've been pursuing since I was 8 years old.
And how long have you been on your own?
Just 2 years.
Yeah, so 2 years into it, going like you thought. Did you have a 3-year business plan? And
I did, but I also had a very wise mentor that said, "Hey, the number one thing you need to know about entrepreneurship and starting something from scratch is you can have a plan, but if you hold on to it too tightly, you'll fail. So have a direction that you want to go in and be willing to adjust based on what you learn and do as you go into the market, as you go and hear what your customer really, really wants." So I would say that I greatly anticipated the opportunities and the need for certain things, because I'm doing things today that I don't even think I knew were necessary or needed 2 years ago, but it's just because I was paying attention to what the customer said.
That's a great gold nugget. Create a business plan. Just don't hold on to it too tight. Be able to you got to be able to adapt and overcome and change with where the dynamics are going. And I had somebody very similar who said the same thing: is don't sit there and spend 6 months developing a program unless you know there's a need.
Yeah.
I'd rather have you go out there and build the process after you found out there's a need. And the perfect example.
I think they stole it all from Mike Tyson, right?
Everybody has a plan till
get punched in the face.
Get punched in the face. And brother, around 18, I'm in.
Or get punched in other places.
I'm getting punched. And it's low shots, high shots, medium shots, back shots, illegal shots. I'm taking them all.
Well, somebody else also once told me that as I started this, they said, as an entrepreneur, you'll never sleep quite the same as you did when you didn't have to worry about when the paycheck was going to process and all those things. So you'll never sleep quite the same, but you'll sleep both better and worse at the same time. You just think about different things.
That's exactly right. That is so true. You sleep you sleep deeper and have even more nightmares. So it's amazing.
Well, okay, so you've been doing this a couple of years. What did you start with, and what has happened since you're willing to let it evolve?
Yeah. So I after leaving my last organization, and I knew that there was going to be another chapter, and I have spent most of my career being deeply passionate about leadership and have been able to explore that in the context of a corporate environment. The last two roles, I was president or CEO of organizations, and always around this idea, if I build better leaders, the organization will be successful. So as I was navigating this, I was like, I knew that this was going to happen. I almost started my own firm 6 years ago, now 5 years ago. And I was talking to a person, and we were at lunch, and I'm on her board. And so I think my next chapter is going to involve me starting a leadership consulting practice and really focusing on CEO mentoring and in helping people bridge the gap when they get into that seat, and all the challenges that come from that. And she literally came out of her seat and said, "Well, I'll be your first customer." So it's like, oh, got this sign that said, "This is the thing I need to do." And I had about 4 or 5 more of those. So it became this, all right, this is what I'm going to do. And what I realized is I love working with CEOs, and I love working with them one-on-one on vision and strategy and leadership teams. What I didn't appreciate or realize at the same time was that because I've been in forum groups for 20 years, how lonely it is if you're not part of that. So when you're running your own business, you're in the CEO seat, it is lonely. But I always had a YPO forum or a Vistage forum or another group, and realized, oh, there's a intermixing here. There's leadership development, leadership coaching, executive consulting, and a need to create a forum type of environment. So I didn't anticipate having group programs or doing anything like that. I didn't even know that was a thing 2 years ago, and then have found, oh, there's actually a real need for that. And then over the last 2 years, maybe it's because I don't have minions of people anymore, I've really leaned hard into the world of agentic AI and building some pretty interesting tools so I could have other people to talk to and at least will agree with me from time to time. And now I have a lot of CEOs and leaders that I work with going, I love what we're doing on the leadership side, but I really want to know what you're doing on the AI side as well. So that's actually become, an evolution in the conversation. I would never have known that 2 years ago, because 2 years ago, ChatGPT was just like a super Google, and now it's an entirely different world.
No, that's very interesting. You hit on 2 hot topics for me. One, first, leadership means everything in an organization, and it is hard to develop as a leader, especially when you're in the throes of the passion that is small business as you grow. And for us, as Alan and I have talked about, my first role at SunTrust, I had 400 people working for me with 9 direct reports. My last role, I had 4 direct reports and 25 working on small stuff. And I had exactly 0 direct reports when I started my business. Where's my IT guy? Who's taking out the trash? Hey, this doesn't work. No, that's still you, buddy. And then you grow, and you have to grow into being a leader. You had to survive and adapt, and then grow and scale. I can see where that's tough. And then you talked about serving your niche in the CEO world, where they did have an established business, and how do you navigate that world? And you talked about the forums. That's what I wanted to get into a little bit, because I'm part of a mastermind group here. Our guy, Chris Hanks, has been on the show. I'm part of his group. He's Vistage trained, but just an amazing entrepreneurial mind and spirit. And the group that I have has been, has gotten me away from the loneliness. This has also helped, having Alan here for the last 4.5 years. But before that,
is it therapy time now?
It is a little bit. I'm sitting on the couch, but I think the forum groups, are you still part of a forum? Is me landing the plane here?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I belong to 2. So I'm still a member of an organization called YPO, and I have a forum in the Carolinas. And then when I was in Tennessee, I still have a forum I belong to in Nashville. So in fact, as we record this, I was in Nashville yesterday for our forum meeting. So I meet with those 2 groups once a month, and it's a way to disassociate myself from the grind so that I can elevate my thinking, elevate the relationships, get outside in perspective, all the benefits that you are well aware of. There's this label that leadership is lonely, and it's true, but it's also self-selected because you have to buy into that fallacy, and in order for it to be true, there's lots of ways to get outside of it. And I always tell people that I'm working with, like, the value of a forum group, the value of a coach, the value of any of those things is, a friend who can sit across from you for 4.5 years and talk, is this idea that you can't read the label from inside the jar. And if you're not real careful, you'll buy into your own BS. And so having a forum group is incredibly powerful.
Gold nugget, write that down. Agentic AI. He used that phrase. I just wanted to say it again. That's Cindy, by the way. Gold nugget. You're right. You can't read the label from the inside. I love that line.
That is good.
That is.
I feel like and Chris and I talk about leadership all the time. I'm very passionate about it too. And so I was excited when I was looking through, you put some great content on LinkedIn, by the way. So for anybody listening, they should definitely follow you and pay attention to that.
Dusty Holcomb.
Yeah. Yes. And
narrator.
I think it's a lot harder, or maybe you're just exposed. It's a lot harder to be a leader in a small firm or in a startup, I think. A big company, you can hide your deficiencies. You may have a dynamic sales manager that covers the fact that you don't know how to lead in sales, or you don't have the carrot, you don't have the career path to offer, you don't have maybe the 401k. I mean, so to just get people to follow you when you've got nothing, when you're starting, requires intense leadership skills, and you've got nobody to hide behind. And so I'm very interested to talk to you about what makes a good leader, because there's a part of me that thinks you can teach people leadership skills, but I still feel like some leaders just are, and there are some people that can't, and there's a ton of people in leadership positions who just aren't leaders.
Hiring the right people shouldn't feel overwhelming. At Smart Hire Solutions LLC, they take a smarter, more human approach to hiring. Smart Hire Solutions helps you get the right candidates, carefully vets, presents only the best fits for sales roles, lead technicians, key team members, in-home services, construction, and many more. No resume pile nightmares, no wasted time. Today's labor market is tough to navigate, and having the Smart Hire Solutions LLC team on board makes it smooth sailing. Founder Tina McKenna brings decades of real-world experience, not only in recruiting, but in marketing. She runs this thing like a business that's involved with you. Check out their fresh approach at yoursmarthire.com. That's yoursmarthire.com. Or connect with Tina McKenna on LinkedIn. That's Tina McKenna with Smart Hire Solutions, LLC, yoursmarthire.com.
Oh, wow. You've opened up a whole Pandora's box of conversations. Which one of those nuggets do I want to grab first? All right. So let me say this. I firmly don't believe that leaders are born. I think, and I don't think leadership is learned. I think leadership is a learning behavior. And the best leaders that I've ever met have embraced fully a learning behavior, because they've recognized that whatever it is that's gotten them to where they are will not get them to where they want to be. So, like, a first principle, leaders are always learning. Harry Truman, wrote once that, not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. And so this idea of learning, there's a big difference between a leader and a manager, right? There's this 100%. Idea that, like, a leader is a person who is invested in ensuring that the people that they are entrusted to care for, to provide for, to serve, know where we're going, why it matters, how we're going to get there, and where they fit in, and what's in it for them. Like, those 5 questions are, I work through those with, whether I'm talking to the CEOs or senior execs in billion-dollar companies or company of 5. I think that 5-question framework is the difference between activating discretionary effort and having a bunch of mercenaries on your team who are there to just do the minimal effort. And the manager is managing minimal effort expectations against a target, and a leader is trying to unlock that discretionary effort so the person brings their full selves to the work, because they believe in the purpose. They believe in the reason that we're here beyond making money. They understand where we're going, what the vision is. They know how we're going to get there. And then the most important one is how they fit into it, why their work matters, and then what's in it for them. And I think that the person who can do that can bring to life leadership in a way that so many people can't. I do agree. Good managers can hide behind the label of a leadership in a big organization and not be exposed. I think it falls apart in a smaller organization. If you really want to unlock discretionary effort, you have to be a leader.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So I'm just trying to figure out the difference between a manager and a leader. So
a manager is essentially a cattle driver. A leader implies that when you turn around, there's people actually following you.
So having the cattle prod and the damn it doll isn't a good thing to have in my office.
I mean, it gets the job done. But
damn it, dolls are great. Those are stress reliever tools.
It's right in my office.
You want to know that people,
and I have little F-bombs.
It's that discretionary effort. I love that. Unlock the discretionary effort. You want to know that when you're not there, they're not just bringing out the beer and having a wild party. They're actually getting the job done. They might actually be even doing it better when you're not there.
You just hit the nail on the head. Like if you're doing your job well, the person who's closest to the problem, the opportunity, or the customer, and has more context than you do, has the information they need to make a better decision than you can make because they're the one who's closest to it. And, there's this old saying, hey, I want to make sure that my presence is present when I'm not present. Like that's what leaders do, is they've connected the dots for people so that they make that right decision. They make the better decision. And it's a game changer. Managers just ensure that the work gets done. But they don't do it for the people. They don't care about the person involved. They're just hitting the targets.
And a leader inspires you. I mean, ultimately people, they're inspired by the leader, but they get to the point where they're working for themselves in your organization.
Yeah.
And that's why they
take
right
personal ownership and everything. Like what we talk about at the Trusted Toolbox, one of our things on our mission plaque is you are the face of the company, regardless of your role. I don't care if you're collecting a payment or doing the work in the field or making that first contact as the customer service first touch superstar. You're the face of the company. Own it like your name's on the shingle. So when you see that in action, you're right. That's actually really rewarding as a leader who I was out and I was in the office for the first time on Monday afternoon and saw that everything was clipping along. And I heard people having conversations. They didn't know I was coming in. They thought I was still out. And I heard the conversations going and I was kind of like, good. They weren't fucking around. No, that wasn't what I thought.
You were ready to stick your foot through the door again, weren't you?
I was, catch somebody doing something good, but I did. I came in and I said, hey, guys, sounds like you guys got that figured out. I'm going back just to try to sell some shit. So I'll be back.
Well, when you do that, then you're liberated to do the thing that you're best in the world at, or however it is that you add the most value to the business. And what I see is like there's just every there you go. Hey, that
apparently this is what I'm best at, filling Chris's glass with a little more bourbon.
There are people who have gifts, and then there are people who actually know how to use their gifts. And you gentlemen clearly know how to use your gifts.
Thank you. Cheers to that. Bourbon pouring, sponsored by Woodford Reserve.
Double oaked.
Double oak. Oh, good call. No, but not to derail the leadership. I think when you're working with CEOs, it sounds like that's probably one of the biggest gaps you've seen is getting people to change their mindset of how they got to where they are and where they got to go. It has to change their mindset a little bit. And that seems like that's got to be a hard lever to pull.
It is. I mean, I have a first principle belief that in order to have influence on others, John Maxwell says, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. If you want to have influence on others, you have to lead yourself first. The principle of leadership is to say, I am aware. How do I need to change? How do I need to evolve? How do I need to show up? And as people move up in ranks, if you're never fully prepared, very rarely, for the next seat, right? And so when you get into the seat, there's a reason imposter syndrome is such a big deal. CEOs that I work with, and almost every CEO that I know, all sit in the seat and go, man, I hope nobody finds out that I have no idea what I'm doing, or like that I have uncertainties too. And they just can't talk about that, right? You can't go and tell your team, I'm not really sure this is the right strategy, at least not until there's a very high degree of trust. But this idea of like, I'm not quite sure I know the answer, or I'm not ready, or, I'm lonely. Like, that's why you have to have the forums and those other things. But every CEO that I work with, everyone I know, as they move into the roles, they have to let go of the thing that made them successful in their last role. And if they hang on too tightly to that, and I think it's especially powerful. I can use my own corollary. I had to let go of what made me very successful in my last couple of roles as I became an entrepreneur, because those things were very different. And so, because I could, at my last couple of roles, I was a scaling CEO. So like, how do we scale the business very, very quickly? How do we grow really, really fast? Well, I actually had to let go of that and go, I don't need to be thinking about scaling right now. I need to think about growing. And that's a different end of a continuum. It's a different set of behaviors that I needed to employ, because I could get locked into a scaling mindset and engineer solutions before the customer, I even know if the customer wants them. So I think that it's this idea that of constantly tuning and reinventing and being willing to put on the altar those things that no longer serve you. And when you move up in executive ranks, you have to be comfortable with that. And you also have to be comfortable having less information about what's going on at the deepest, darkest recesses of the organization and than you've ever had, and focus on making sure that the organization knows where we're going and why it matters.
So you started a podcast. Why?
I started a podcast for two reasons.
That was a good question like that.
I know. Like you're like,
you want the truth?
Alan's going to talk more about leadership, and I'm going to derail it.
No. Do you want the truth, or do you want the fun answer?
Fun and then truth.
The fun answer is, I'm a little bit, I would lie if I didn't say it was a little bit self-serving, is that I just like talking to really interesting people and learning. And so it was like, oh, this is a good platform for me to talk to really interesting people, learn about what they do. I don't have, it's me and a couple people. I don't have other than my clients, I'm not talking to big teams every day. I'm not doing town hall meetings with hundreds of people. Let me just talk to really interesting people and learn from them. So a little bit self-serving. That's the kind of the fun answer. And that's probably why I have on the show, I'll have people like former strength and conditioning coach for the Miami Heat, or I have clinical psychologist, or I'll have, a CEO. I have a wide variety of guests because it's just interesting.
So let's name drop, because he had somebody on his podcast. We had on Cash Flow Mike.
Oh, Cash Flow Mike just had an episode this past week.
I know. I listened to it. That's funny. I was laughing. I was like, you pull this out. This guy was a state trooper, went to school, and he tells a great story and great guest. Yeah, but you're right. You get to meet some really interesting people, and they hit and help you grow as an individual, and for me as a business owner.
So then why is he with us?
Well, that's why I was
same reason.
Okay, that's
really interesting people. Well, and then the other reason is I have
sometimes you have to kiss some frogs, Alan.
Well, when interesting people reach out to me and say, "Hey, we'd love to have you on our podcast," I'm like, "Ooh, sounds like a fun conversation." I don't have to be the one asking all the questions.
So that was going to be the next question. Which side do you like being on, the interviewer or the interviewee?
Can I say the cop-out answer and say both?
Yeah, that's not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair. It depends on the guest or the host. I love it when I'm with a host like you guys, dynamic, fun, laughing. You're just peppering me. That's super fun. And I enjoy that. When I get a guest on that we can do that with, that's super fun. Right. I'd say it's really the one that I enjoy the most is when I get a really dynamic guest and we just forget that there's a host and the guest relationship. We're just having a conversation. And I think that's the dynamic that I like. And I get to do that in both places if it's a good show.
Yeah, I would tell you. So my answer back is I would have said both, to cop out. But I like being the interviewee with a good interviewer, and especially when they bring out stuff that I've forgotten about. They'll ask a question that leads me down that path. I'm like, oh, but I mean, I've had people ask me this all the time. Why did you do this podcast? And I did it because, yes, eventually I want to build influence and do something similar to what you do. Not necessarily leadership coaching, but helping home service companies help them scale their business. Or if you're thinking about leaving, I wish I would have had this resource. But the other part is I've had people say, well, you make any money at it? I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm like, do you make any money playing golf? You don't. But that's 4 hours that we go out there and hit a little white ball around. I kick it around with Alan for a couple hours every couple of weeks, and this king goes out, and I said, I'm having a great time, and I'm not losing any golf balls.
You get a lot of positive reinforcement out of this, though.
I do.
You're meeting some really cool people, but it's amazing. And I don't know if you've had the same experience, but people reach out to Chris on a regular basis from all around the world, and they're like, hey, can I pick your brain for a minute? I mean, that would stroke my ego.
Yeah, no, it does help. That has been nice. That's funny you should say that because I just had one not all over the world, but up in New Jersey that reached out to me, and we're going to kick up on the phone here in the next couple days.
Kind of another world.
That is actually, yeah, I know.
Different language and everything.
Yeah, I know. That's what. Yeah, it is. He's not even Italian, so I can't even pull that one.
What are you doing? Not a paisano.
I know. And I'm giving him time. I don't know. We'll see. No, but yeah. So that's why I think that's interesting. Not to derail it, but just as you do that, I think it helps you also. You talked about. I'm still going back to that phrase. I'm using this one, man. I'm stealing it. You can't read the label from inside the jar. And when I come out here and do this podcast with Alan, I get to step out and step up a level, not to the level of my mastermind group where we're digging in and accountability and really thinking and elevating. But here we have some really interesting conversations, and I love it.
I feel it the same way, and it's this idea of, for me, I wanted to not create influences insofar as I wish I'd had some of the resources available to me. Like, the thesis for me is we've all paid tuition in life. We've all learned lessons. And if we can get, guests on, or if I can share something that helps someone else leverage the tuition that I've already paid or that someone else has already paid and do something better or different, then it's totally worth it. And I love having, the same outreach conversations. People reach out from, around the world, and you're going, "Hey, I heard you on this podcast. I'd love to learn more about this idea." Sure. I'm an open book. I'll send you everything. The other thing I've found, I'm curious if this is the same for you guys, it allows me to sharpen my thinking. And so being able to have a conversation with another really smart person, or to prepare for a solo episode, because about half my episodes are solo, like I have to really do a lot of work and sharpen my thinking and prepare for them. So I find that that's a tremendous benefit.
Maybe you should just wing it.
That's what I was about to say. I'm like, I love that you're sharpening yourself, big guy. I can't do. I did solo. I did a couple early on. Like Alan couldn't make it. I'm like, we'll just keep doing it. And I have to say, I went back and listened to that. It was one of the worst episodes I've ever done. I wasn't prepared. I did everything that kibitz off of. I couldn't wing it, and I love winging it. That's for sure. But
so yeah, I'm his little safety blanket because I'm here waiting for him. He's got this elevated driveway, and I'm here, and he comes in and hits that driveway so hard it looks like a carrier launch. And then he jumps out of the truck, and he's got all of his equipment, and then we patch it together 5 minutes before the show. I'm like, "Did you do any homework?" And he's like, "Well,
I did today though."
Once in a while, I will get a guest where I'm like, "You probably need to read a little bit on this guy."
He did hit me on a couple of those, and I'm glad he did.
Well, I now have this, just so you know, like full transparency, I now have this mental image, a little thought bubble above his head on my screen. He's your binky. And like, I'm not sure that
binky. Alan's my binky. Gold nugget. Put that in the thing. Alan is Chris. I'm telling you, I've done them. And so, I do a radio show here locally for home service providers, and it goes out on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. And I have another co-host, but I have to sit in the interviewer seat, and he gets to play the color commentary, and I have to have a different personality, different persona, the whole thing. It's that has actually helped me really think more and more about helping me with public speaking, the whole thing.
I wish I had a co-host. Now I'm rethinking my entire model because it would be a lot more fun, especially if there's Woodford.
You got to find somebody,
especially with Woodford. You got to find somebody who's fun. And I would tell you, it's a labor of love. As you know, people ask us all the time, "Hey, man, I'm going to start a podcast. I listen to yours." And I'm like, "Are you sure about that?" Yeah, because we've been doing it for 4.5 years, guys. And for everybody listening, usually in your cars, maybe on a walk, probably not anywhere else. You're by yourself. You're listening to this one. Podcasting, everybody has one, all the same crap. Well, you know what? Everybody has a remodeling company too, or everybody has a knife sharpening company, or everybody has pick your poison, man. It's all out there. Doing this is, we joke about winging it and doing all this stuff, but we wouldn't have done it if we didn't stay committed to it. And for 4.5 years, it's not as easy as people think it is to actually get it going, which is why we're up. I think we're in the top, 3%.
Well, it's easy to get it going. It's hard to continue to do it.
It sure is. Because like you said, Dusty, you got to have interesting people come on, and you got to find people. And then we love having people come in the studio with us here in Johns Creek. A lot of local people have come in, and we love it when they come in person because it's just so much more intimate and more fun. And I think it comes across on the cast as well.
I couldn't agree with you more. It makes you step your game up. It takes a lot of work. And, I've had people, same thing, ask me, hey, is it easy? No, it's easy to start. But if you want to get good at anything, you have to say no to a lot of things that are distractions, and it takes a lot of work.
It does. And Alan, one of the things Alan always harps on me about is make sure we have great audio. So we've got a good setup, but we're always continually doing this. And the reason I bring that up is that here in Atlanta, we're Atlanta Braves country. So if you're into baseball,
Go Braves.
Bobby Cox just recently passed away, to date this a little bit, and they had Chipper Jones on the radio talking about him. And his cell phone was cutting in and out. And I'm driving in the truck, and I'm sitting there because Chipper Jones, another legend who I love listening to for his candor and his real authentic take on things.
God, I love Chipper.
And it was cutting in and out. And I'm like, oh my God. All I could hear was Alan in the background going, that's what happens on our podcast. That's what happens on our podcast. So, guys, hopefully the audio is solid. If it's not, it is too. It's right in my head.
I'm glad it wasn't.
Details matter. Details matter.
So getting back to leadership and doing all that, let's go, Alan.
Yeah, I got a question. So in reading your posts, it seems like there was a consistent theme to me about the way I always say it is, you crack the whip, how do you know it snaps at the other end? And so as a manager, it's pretty easy to control the room and control the environment you're in. But when you get to a larger organization where you've got, remote people and things like that, that's where the leadership really comes in. And so what are some of the challenges that you're seeing people really having when it comes to leading from a distance or leading through multiple layers of staff?
Yeah, it's a great question. And what I see, like double gold stars there, because it's especially as organizations grow.
And we just end the podcast. Yeah. All right, Dusty. Audio's going bad. That's a great double star, Alan. You sucked up to the wrong host, Dusty. All right.
Well, I did call him Binky.
That's true. You didn't have to get back. You're like, oh shit.
There's a redeeming
5 years from now.
Somewhere.
It's the Chris and Binky show.
It is a great question. So yeah, this is great. We gotta get
that's a great question, Binky. So what I'm not going to be able to unsee this at this point.
I know.
As organizations grow, the span of control from the center decreases. And what really happens, and this is what I spend a lot of time talking with leaders about, is we are really good at seeing execution problems. Like the results aren't there, or there's this gap, there's this problem, there's this issue. And we all immediately run towards the fix for the execution problem. And I always have to remind folks and remind myself, okay, there's almost always an upstream issue that happened before the execution failure. Do we have a lack of alignment, or do we have a lack of clarity? Are we clear on where we're going? Are we clear on what's important? Are we clear on what great looks like? Most of the time, there's not clarity. And then if we have clarity, have we spent the energy, but done the reps, built the traction to create alignment? And so in talking with leaders, the easy thing is to diagnose the problem at a surface level, at an execution failure level. But where we actually spend most of our time is going, okay, what's the root cause? Is it a clarity issue and an alignment issue? And how are you as the leader influencing the person who's influencing the outer circle? Like, are you clear? Are they clear? Do they really understand what great looks like, what the goal is? And I'll give you a practical example of that. So I'm working with a leadership team. I have a practice that I work with every leader on, something I've been doing myself for 20 years, where we craft our rules of engagement. It's just simple process. Actually, I have a book coming out about this, where you write your rules of engagement guide and you share it with your team. And it's meant to say, hey, here's what I value. Here's what I expect of myself. Here's what I expect of my team. Here's how I make decisions. Here's how I'll communicate. And the amount of time that I'll talk with, I was giving a speech to a group of CEOs a couple months ago, and I was telling them about this practice and walking them through it. And they're going, I've never put in writing. I've never communicated to people what I expect. And they just always figure it out. But now I'm sitting here going, I have made people move so much slower. I've never given them the gift of what they need to understand. So when I'm working with organizations and I'm seeing them slip at the edges, I always go back to the center and say, do we have clarity? Have we built alignment? That's what's going to give us the execution we want. And then we go to a very practical exercise at an individual leader level. Craft your rules of engagement as a method of creating clarity. and building alignment. And then when they connect those dots, they start doing it and they start practicing it. That's how we actually fix it. So they come in saying, hey, I have an execution problem, help me fix it. And most of the time we spend our energy getting clear and then getting aligned, and the execution problem fixes itself.
Clarity and alignment. I love that phrase. I'm going to actually bring that back. Another great gold nugget.
That's
but you dropped a little
new word
teaser
for the day: clarity and alignment.
Actually, I was going fierce and fabulous. That's a different story. Was that reality TV? So, Dusty, you dropped a little nugget in there. Are you going to be in the Published Author Club? Because between the three of us, one of us is Alan.
I'm still working on it.
I got mine going, baby. The Small Business Safari brought Zoo to the Wild. That's Chris Lalomia's great book. But anyway, Dusty Holcomb is joining the club. What's going to be the name of your book? Have you titled it yet?
This one is Your Rules of Engagement, exactly how to make sure your team does the right thing the first time.
There you go. Make sure you go out and find that out. I know we're coming to the end of the episode. So, Dusty, how can everybody get out there and get a hold of you? Let's get that. We'll have it all in the show notes. Let's hit this stuff up in.
Well, I'd say this. If people are interested in doing that same practice that I work on with CEOs, they can go to myrulesofengagement.com, download the whole playbook. And I give them all the tools, all the stuff. And because the reason I give that away is I found it this be the single biggest clarifier for a person that they can then share with their team. And I have clients now who make it a standard practice within their whole company. So give it as a gift to your audience, but hit me on LinkedIn. You can go to our company website, arcusgroup.com. But at the end of the day, I love having great conversations. So I try to find any way I can to find that. However you can find me, LinkedIn is always the best.
There you go, guys. At least you got that figured out. Hopefully you're still with us because Binky Alan Wyatt has a question.
Well, and you know my role here because I'm listening to you just go off and then the guest is laying down some great stuff. And I'm like, I'm putting myself in the listener. And you're talking about clarity. What does that mean? What does that look like? Because I know a ton of people who, we had this meeting. I laid down the law. This is what I told them to do, and that was clear. That's clarity. So, I mean, what does clarity mean? Does it mean not going in too many directions at once? Is it a clear initiative for 2026 that I reinforce how often through communication of what sort? I mean, what can you, in a nutshell, talk about what clarity really looks like in an organization?
Yeah, I would put it as simply as this: what we're going to do or what we're going to be by when. Can we decode everything that we're doing to what by when? Or who we're going to be by when. And so clarity is not a process of communicating at people. Clarity is a process of listening to understand if it has landed. So when I'm working with teams and leaders, and we'll say, hey, do you have clarity as a leader? Many times they don't, because I'll ask the question, all right, what does great look like? When we do this initiative, how will you know if it was successful? Exactly what will have been accomplished that will tell you if this work was done and done well. And if we can't answer that question, we can't expect our teams to do it. But if we can answer those questions, then the next one is, okay, let's ask your team, did they see it the same way? You have to say things so many times that it echoes, where people are saying this stuff as if you were not even there, and it's as if it were their own words. So that's the alignment piece. But I think clarity is a listening exercise. And if you can't listen, get it out of your own head clearly, you'll never get it from your team.
Those are great gold nuggets here at the end. And I tell you, in my last newsletter, I just put out that the best leaders ask better questions. Don't give answers, ask better questions. And that's always been a mantra that I picked up from Chris Hanks, one of my great mentors. He's the Buddha to the mountain. But you brought that up. That is clarity. And that was probably the best definition of clarity and how it means to put. I'm sure that's going to be in your book.
So I get a retroactive great question, Alan.
So you get a retroactive great question. I think I'm
nice
way
job,
down
Binky.
on this. Way to go, Binky. Binky, buddy. I want that in the show notes, Cindy. Binky is Alan's new nickname.
God, that might stick. I have a fear that really might stick.
But what's hilarious, though, is that Binky, everybody's thinking he's a small dude. He's not, right? I mean, my man's 6'7", so
I'm a big Binky.
He's a big Binky.
Yeah. So you probably, if you're listening, and good news, guys, coming out on the podcast. I just got some news that we're actually going to have video on Apple Podcasts starting to gen up, and we're going to start putting our podcasts out there. We've been putting them out on YouTube. Don't forget to go out there and check them all out. We're all out there. We're giving these podcasts because we're just trying to help everybody, right? I mean, Dusty, you said it best, and that is, if I learn something from the tuition of Hard Knocks, I hope I can pass it along, because I hope you don't screw it up as bad as I did, and I hope you guys can keep making it happen, because this wild world of entrepreneurship is wild all the way around. And this has been one of those great conversations you got. Hopefully you got something out of it, because if you didn't, man, that's on you. If you want to go back and rewind, listen to that thing again, you probably should.
You should.
And don't forget, you can use AI to summarize some of this shit, man. I'm telling you, Dusty talked. I just used AI today. I use it every day in my business now. And it's not scary anymore, Alan. It's okay.
It is still really scary.
I know it scares you. It does.
It's
Skynet is coming.
It is the new world. I spent a lot of time in that space, and it's fascinating what's coming.
It is fascinating, and I think because of that, and we don't have time to hit this one today, guys, but we may bring Dusty on in the future and talk more about what AI has done and how it helps in your business.
We should. If you do that, that'd be great, because you crushed it today. Yeah,
happy
this
to.
has been awesome.
Yep.
You know what? I think the reason we like him so much too is because he was originally. Now, were you originally born in Georgia?
He was originally born in Georgia, born in Columbus, Georgia.
How about that?
There was something that we liked about him.
We knew there was something we liked about him. And he did the reverse commute to the rest of us. And he got out of Atlanta or anywhere near Atlanta and got out to Charlotte, North Carolina. For my friends in Tasmania, that's about 4 hours as the crow flies. But if traffic's out, it could be 6 hours to get to where he's at. It just depends. Mm-hmm. All right, Troy, you listen to that one. I know you listen all the time, buddy. Appreciate you guys. Keep getting up that mountaintop. Make it happen. We got to get out of here and make it roll. Let's go make some money.
Cheers, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Small Business Safari. Remember, your positive attitude will help you achieve that higher altitude you're looking for in the wild world of small business ownership. And until next time, make it a great day.